Howdy folks, I hope you're well. Happy New Year to you all. Welcome to the first RPI live TV show of 2020 and indeed the decade. I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year and all of that. For me it seems a long time ago, but welcome and Happy New Year to you all. So, we've got quite a lot going on. My comments are not working.
Howdy folks, I hope you're well. Happy New Year to you all. Welcome to
my comments are not working. Apologies for that. My comments are not working through the system, so I'm having to monitor all different pages and everywhere we're at for comments. So be a little bit shorter, a little bit slower than normal monitoring comments. So let's see who we've got on, and we will crack on. Let's see who's watching. We've got how many people we got watching? We've got about 80 people watching, which is great. Thank you very much for everybody tuning in. We've been away for a few weeks, but it's good that we've got so many people watching on this new show for the new year. So we've got loads of people watching. I'm not going to mention you all because there's way too many to mention. But let's see who we've got saying hello. We've got Johannes von Streek saying hello. Joshua is saying hello too. Lots of people watching, which is really great. Matthew Mason, Happy New Year to you too. Barry Truin's watching. Melvin Horn, Happy New Year to you too. Simon Brick, I'm doing well, thank you Simon, I'm doing well. Jeffrey Abel, all is good, thank you. Feeling refreshed and back. And on the page, we've got lots of people watching on the page. That's the thing with this now. It's broadcast across the group, the RPI page, on my own timeline, on YouTube, and on rpilive.com. So you can just go straight to rpilive.com and watch us live as well. So you don't have to be on social media. You can just go straight to the website and watch it. That website's going to have a lot more going on with it as well. So down the line, we've got a lot going on. You can watch it in many places. So we've got people watching all over at the moment. We've got people watching on the page, in the group, on YouTube, loads of places. And thank you to the 78 people that are watching. So great, really good, excellent, and it feels good to be back. I'll just say hello to others. We've got Andrew McMillan. How you doing? Well, welcome in. Anthony Bracken's in. And I just want to say a special thank you to Anthony. Anthony is our star moderator and admin on the RPI Facebook group. And without Anthony, we would be really struggling. He dedicates so much time to the RPI group. I don't moderate the group. I just haven't got the time anymore. And Anthony is our star moderator, and he accepts most people, accepts most posts, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to you, Anthony, because you are great. Thank you very much. Stephen O'Brien's watching. Happy New Year to you as well. Bogdan Stroh's watching. Bill Buxton's watching. Keith Gardner, Joseph Brennan, Graham Boy, Ronald Fewings. What's happening in the new year? I'll talk a little bit about that later on, Ronald. Cy James, and a bunch more people watching. So welcome and thank you to it. I'm really so grateful. We've got 85 people watching now. Again, remember, share this, let people know that it's on, let people know that you think might be interested in watching it. As I say, it feels really good to be back. I've had a few weeks break. I was ill the last week. I should have done it in 2019, but it feels good. I've had a break, and we've got Soren Florius liking and sharing as well. Thank you, Soren. And again, please share it. get it out there to people who you think might want to watch it. And it feels great that we're just about to hit 100 people watching the show, which is great for 2020. And it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. Right, let's get on. And we've got a lot to go through tonight. First of all, sadly, this show is dedicated to not just one person, but to two people. This first show of the new decade, is dedicated to two people. Many of you will have heard that Sean Hunt Sr. sadly passed away on Christmas Eve. And I was personally shocked. I mean, I didn't know Sean that well. I'd been lucky enough to meet him a few times. And I knew Sean Jr. Through doing the Wild Atlantic Way coverage last year. The last time I saw Sean Sr. was in Portugal, and I was very upset to hear that he had passed away on Christmas Eve. And my condolences to his family and to Sean and to everybody. And I know he was such a big character within Pigeons, and I know he's sorely missed. And I heard the funeral had hundreds of people there. So R.I.P. Sean. It was very sad to hear, and I'm constantly thinking of you, Sean Jr. and family. So may he rest in peace wherever he is. And the next person, unfortunately, I don't want to have the show on a down note, but I felt it important to make these dedications, and unfortunately, I feel I have to dedicate the show to not just Sean, but also to somebody else. And the show is also duly dedicated to Brian Tomlinson. Now, Brian Tomlinson is the father of Gary Tomlinson. I was unfortunate to never meet Brian, but I know from Gary what a great man he was, and from seeing the comments online, and I know what a great Pigeon man he was in his day. And unfortunately, Brian passed away a couple of days ago, and I speak to Gary often, and I know for the last many months really his father Brian was struggling a lot, and in many ways, and I mean this in the best possible way, in many ways it was a blessing that Brian finally did pass away, because he was struggling. He wasn't the man he wanted to be, and he wouldn't have wanted to be as he was. Like I say, I never met Brian, but I know enough, and I've heard enough stories about him to know he was a great man, and I wish I had have met him. So this show's also dedicated to Brian Tomlinson, and I will be proudly attending his funeral on Friday to support Gary and the family. So RIP to both people, and it's sad that we have to dedicate the show to two great people, but I felt it important that we should do that. So let's move on. And unfortunately, these are the things of life, and it's horrible to have to say goodbye to people, but like I say, I intended it to be that this show is dedicated to those two great people, because both in their own rights were great Pigeon people, and it's a sad loss to the sport for both. Right, let's move on. We have some other things to deal with as well. We have other stuff. Now, you're going to have to excuse me because I'd look thicker than I am, but I'm monitoring all comments and everything across everything that's going on. So you have to excuse me looking dim because I can't read and talk at the same time. I'm not as good as women. We're talking about a lot of different stuff tonight, Gabriel. We're talking about a lot of stuff. Right. So the next thing I want to mention is I haven't got pictures for this because they only came in about half an hour before the show started. But the first thing that I want to mention is that I want to mention a charity auction for Owen Hamill. Owen sadly passed away after a car accident at the age of 13 in Belfast, and I don't know fully everything. I only had a really brief time to read about it, and it's very, very sad indeed. And I promise you, the show will pick up in spirit shortly. But these things need to be dealt with, and we need to help people. And Owen sadly passed away at the age of 13, and he was a great young boxer by all accounts. And there's a 3-part charity auction happening, and part 1 is on now until Thursday, and some great donations from people, some of the best fanciers around in the UK and Ireland, and it's on the Racing Pigeon auction page on Facebook. So go and check that out. I will try and get a URL, a website address of it to promote out, okay? But it's the Owen Hamill charity auction. It's a 3-part sale. Part 1 is on now until Thursday. And Stephen, just fire a link. If you've got a link into the group or the page or whatever where the auction's going on, if you've got a link, Stephen O'Brien, who's watching this, who sent me this info, if you can just fire a link into the comments so I can see it, and I'll reshare it out. So that's the Owen Hamill charity auction, 3 parts, some really top birds coming in from top fanciers. The next one is to mention is the Rob Burrow auction. Now, Rob was diagnosed with motor neurone disease just at the age of 37, and Rob's got a young wife and 3 children, all under the age of 8. And he was a champion within rugby league. Now, there's 50 lots here at this auction from some top flyers, and with 4 donations from the top 10 Golden Dodoy prize winners. Now, I have a URL for this auction, so let's get behind this and support Rob Burrow's auction. I'm going to post the link to the auction. It's on Excelsior Pigeon, and I'm going to post the link to the auction now. I'm going to post it onto the different platforms, so go and check that out, folks. I'm posting it all on Facebook now as we speak. So go and look at that. There's 50 lots there, and this is to support Rob Burrow, who unfortunately is being diagnosed with motor neurone disease at just the age of 37. That's scary. That's like nearly 8 years younger than myself, and he's got a young wife and kids, and they're all under the age of 8, and he needs as much help as he can. So let's get behind him and support him there, please, if you would. I've posted it out. If you need any more information about it, if I haven't got it, I will get it. And if you need any information, then let me know on both of those. Now, the next thing, and I promise you, this is the last sad thing of the show, was something that I was also sent. Okay, we've got the link, so I'm gonna send you the. I'm gonna rebroadcast this now. So this is the link about the Owen Hamill auction as well. All right, so you've got all the info. Go and check it out, guys. Let's get behind these people and let's help as many of the families as we can and the people themselves. Right, the next thing I want to talk about, and I only saw this about an hour before going live, but I was gutted. I really don't know what's wrong with the world and people these days. I just don't know what people's problems are. Really, honestly, it just sickens me. A guy called Peter Chappell up in Hartlepool was left half broken after his beloved pigeons were decapitated in a sickening attack. He had them on an allotment, and they were Budapest high flyers. He had 8 Budapest high flyers. He had another loft, fortunately, of some rollers or some tipplers. And some sick person, let's call it, because I can't swear because we have kids watching this, but I would really, really like to swear in this case. But some sick person went in New Year's Eve and decapitated his 8 Budapest high flyers. This man had them on an allotment. The allotment had a 6-foot fence around it. I don't know Peter. I'm going to try and make contact with him on Facebook. But what I already did is Peter can't afford to buy more birds because he's a working man. He's just become a grandfather, I believe, and we need to help him, folks. Right? So what I want to do is I put a little post out on Facebook about this beforehand. Well, 2 things. If you know Peter in that picture, his name is Peter Chappell. Can you get him to contact me, or can you give him my details? I think I've added him on Facebook, or I've tried to add him on Facebook, but I'm not entirely sure. Right? So I need to get hold of him, and I want us to help him. Right? So what we need to do is I want to see him get his 4 pair of Budapest high flyers back in that loft so we can get on. He was looking forward to getting his family involved in breeding them and what have you. And it's just, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people these days? It's just sickening. Right, so let's be proactive and let's not dwell on how sick and horrible people are. We need to find some good top quality Budapest high flyers to get Peter some back, right? So if you know someone, or if you're watching this and you keep them yourself, or if you know someone that keeps Budapest high flyers, we need to get Peter 8, preferably 4 pair of Budapest high flyers back in that loft so he can continue to enjoy them. Either or, we find 8, or we raise him the money to get 8, one way or another. If we have to go the money route, I'm throwing 50 quid in to get the ball started. I think £400 should cover it, but let's try and find somebody that can get him 8 Budapest high flyers. So let's help out, guys. If you know anybody that keeps Budapest high flyers, let's get Peter 4 pair back in that loft so he can continue to enjoy his pigeons, please. And needless to say, if you're in the Hartlepool area and you know anything about the sick person that did this, then please call the police, because we would like to find these people and get them dealt with. Right, we'll just go with some comments now, and then we'll crack on with the rest of the show. Loads of people watching. Thank you. Really, really, really appreciate it. Remember to share it out. Put it out there. Anybody that would be interested in watching. So let's just see any more comments. We've got loads of people watching. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for everybody that shared. We've got Cheyenne, Martin, Sean Crocker, Steve Hopper. Do you know anyone that have them birds? Thank you for tagging in that. Much appreciated. Let's see what else we've got. Sorry guys, as I say, it's a real pain because my comments are not working as they completely should. Jimmy Bulger, evening all. Yeah, very cruel, Anthony, indeed. And yeah, you're right, Stephen. It's a joke. We can't even keep birds. Marius and Lord of Fury. Any idea when Garzy would be available downloaded? I will talk about that later on, Marius, if that's all right, mate. I don't have any contacts in Budapest, Stephen. It's one of the places I don't have. But trust me, I'll try my best to find someone to help. There's got to be someone in the UK that keeps them, knows people that keeps them, that we can help him with. There's got to be. So we will find someone. I'm sure we will. Right. What else have we got? Yeah, there's a program on RTE over in Ireland tonight at 9:35 p.m. And it's going to mention racing pigeons. So if you're in Ireland and you want to watch that, it's 9:35. You'll be able to watch this show and then go and watch that straight away. Matthew Mason says, just to let you know that Carl Douglas got reward and recognition from the RPRA for his commitment to helping out with stray pigeons, getting them back home. Well done to all who recommended Carl to the RPRA. Just goes to show that there are some great fanciers out there. Absolutely. I've spoken to Kyle. He's such a dedicated guy in the quest to get stray pigeons back. And for those of you who don't think stray pigeons are worth having back, Frank Cullen and Carl Douglas can tell you otherwise. They've rehomed stray pigeons, and one of the birds that they rehomed went on to win a national 3 weeks later. So amazing work that he's done. Gary says, thanks Mark for your kind words, appreciate it. Dad will be chuffed. Mate, my pleasure. My pleasure. I only wish I got to meet him, Gary. Barry Moore says, shout out to Joe Ward for his hard work behind the Winners North and South auction. Well done to you, Joe. Right. Yeah, I got a bit of a delay on my voice, mate. Can't do anything about it because I'm having to monitor all of these feeds. So, yeah. One of the things that's going to happen to this show over the next few months is the game's going to be up. One of the big things that's going to happen is I'm relocating and the internet's going to be a lot better as well. So, right, let's crack on with other stuff. So, right, I want to know... sorry. I'm going to kill one of these feeds because I'm monitoring it on my phone. 1 second, guys. I need a producer. That's what I need. I need somebody to deal with all this stuff for me so I can just focus on the show at hand. So I've killed one of the feeds. Actually, I can monitor... Oh, sorry, guys. I'm just going to try and sort this out so I can reduce it... reduce what broadband and stuff is happening. This is all because my... Actually, I think the comments are working now. So I'm going to kill this stuff and hopefully the syncing will be better. Hopefully that works better, folks. Right, so let's crack on. We've got 75 people, 80 people watching still. So that's great. That's really good. Right, let's crack on. So I want to know what your plans are for 2020. New decade, new year. What are your plans for 2020? Personally, I'm very close now to moving house, finally. And it's been a long time coming. I've been talking about this bloody house move for quite a while, and it's finally happening. Oh, Kyle, you just joined. Kyle Douglas just joined. We've just mentioned you, Kyle. So welcome. Yeah, so I'm moving house. All being well in 3 weekends' time. 2 weekends. The weekend after Blackpool, finally, and then I can focus on the outside once we've got in the house. There's been a hell of a lot of work to do in the house, and we're gradually finally getting there, and so that's a big part of it. I have a new dog who's fast asleep, who I can't show you at the moment because he's fast asleep. I have a new Belgian Malinois dog that came over from Romania a couple of weeks ago, and he's my pet project for the year. He's going to be trained up fully to be a fully trained up protection dog one day, although he's a bit little at the moment. We're going to be starting training him in February. First week of February goes into training. Obviously training now, but just the basic stuff. And so I got that going on. I got a lot planned. I'm actually going through my plans at the moment for me personally and for RPI. I'm working my plans in January. I'm going to be telling you a lot more about what's going on. But what are your plans for 2020? What are you looking forward to? What are you changing? Tell us. Let us know. Share it with everybody on here. As I say, I'm looking at everything that I'm involved in with related to RPI, to the sport. I've got some things that I'm going to be up in the game on. I've got a couple of things I'm going to be dropping for various reasons. And I've kind of took a step back because the reality is I always do it. Took too much on. RPI, this TV show will continue every Monday, 8 o'clock, as it did last year. Apart from a couple of times, I think it was 2 shows were not aired for reasons of illness. And when I'm not there and travelling, other people will be doing the show. And that will continue going into this year. Every week, 8 o'clock on a Monday, it will continue. And we will be doing bigger and better things with RPI. Like at this moment in time, we've got 86 people watching. And I want to increase that to where we've got a couple hundred people all the time watching by this time next year. As I said, other things are going to be happening. I've got a lot going on behind the scenes. A couple of things are going to get dropped just because that's just the way it is. You have to move and be flexible and work your way around things. And I'm going to be talking more about that stuff over the course of the next few weeks. But I want to know what's going on with your plans. Let's see what we've got. Graham joined a local club and started breeding with 3 pairs. And he's looking forward to July's Young Bird races. Well, good on you, Graham. Well done, mate. And he's got his first 2 eggs hatched as well. And Jeffrey says his plans are finally to join a club and get a loft on all the equipment. Well done, Jeffrey. So, yeah, tell us your plans. Keep sharing those plans. In a bigger picture of the sport over the next decade, it's now 9 months since I've been back in to the sport. I've learnt a hell of a lot in the last 9 months. I've met a lot of people. I've been a lot of places. But if I take a step back and look at right, where are we at now? And again, approaching this new decade, where is the sport going to be at in the next 10 years? Quite an open-ended question, really, but where do you think the sport's going to be at in the next 10 years? Now, this is not a negative thing. This is not primed to say it's going down, everything's horrible. But where do you see the sport at in the next 10 years? Personally, and you know if you've been watching the show before, you know my opinions on some of this stuff already. I think the federations need to join together. Shared resources need to happen more. A sharing of responsibility and resources is a definite that needs to happen. But something radical has still got to happen. Something radical has got to shift. Because of all of the travelling I've done in 2019, which, you know, ended with the China trip, like I've said before, in certain countries in the world, in Romania, in Poland, and definitely in China, the sport is growing. But it's not here. And you can look back to some of the things we've mentioned earlier on in the show. You know, although they weren't racing pigeons, they were still pigeons. And some horrible, idiotic human beings gone in and killed some other guy's birds. It's terrible. What is people's problems? You hear of so many people packing up, and again, I don't want to be negative. My whole thing is to be positive, forward thinking, and moving forward. But you got a lot of people packing up. In fact, I saw a very well-known flyer talking about this time next year he's not going to have birds, he's going to be free to live his life. And I still say this is a big thing. Look, it's a big issue. Keeping racing pigeons is a big commitment. Even without winning and doing everything you need to do, it's a big commitment. It's an even bigger commitment to do it right and to win consistently. Yes, there are things you can do, there are things you can learn and that will help you, but it's still a big commitment. And if you've got seasoned, long-term, some of them are lifelong pigeon flyers out there that are giving up, it doesn't bode well for new people coming in. And I know I might sound like a broken record, but we've got to be realistic. We've got to be realistic about a few things. I've said before and I will say it again. There is no reason why a back garden flyer cannot compete with a wealthy, large-scale flyer if they do things right. I still think there should be league systems within clubs. They do it in football. Why don't they do it in the sport? Why have we not got leagues so that new people and novices come in on a lower league and compete against other people like that, so they're not having to compete with the big boys that have been doing it for years? Because how soul destroying is it to be competing and always getting beat? There should be a league system. That's the first thing. The second thing is the amount of time it takes. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, we're on an uphill battle to turn the numbers round. I'm a numbers guy. I look at numbers all day long. And if you just look at the numbers, persuading people to start keeping pigeons looking after them, caring for them, training them and racing them, that is an uphill battle, let alone to do it at a high level. The numbers don't add up. In today's society, we've changed. We've changed from 40, 50 years ago. Life is very different these days. And I think we've got an uphill battle. And I'll say about my 3-phase plan. My 3-phase plan is this. My 3-phase plan... Excuse me 1 second, guys. I'll just go and let my dogs out. Apologies, folks. That was Gabby coming home from work late and the dogs hearing it. My 3-phase plan, like I've said before and I'll say again, to focus on bringing new flyers in, to keep pigeons themselves and to race them. I think with the numbers this sport needs, specifically in the UK, but most of the continent, is an uphill battle. The numbers are just not there en masse to turn it around like it needs to be. As you know, I'm a big fan of one-off races. I think over the next 10 years, one-off races have the chance to be able to turn this sport round on its ear and revolutionise the sport. I've said before, a couple of weeks ago, one-off races as they happen now don't just have to be as they happen. I went to China, they have over 1,000 one-off races. And they're not all big money races. We talked about community lofts before. You take an extension of a community loft where multiple flyers fly birds into one race, into one loft. And they compete amongst themselves. Now that loft could compete in a club, or it could be a club flying to one place. Ultimately, sharing the responsibility and the costs and the time commitments. And then over a period of time, those lofts all compete with each other. That's one way of doing it. But whichever way you look at it, one-off races, I think, are the future. And I think for many reasons. It reduces the time. It still keeps people interested. And ultimately, you've got a different social of it. It fits. And like I said, one of my first British Home and World articles back in March said there's nothing wrong with money in this sport, and I've been attacked for that. I've been attacked as a money grabber. The fact is it's cost me thousands to run RPI and I've not made any money out of it at all yet, so quite how I'm being a money grabber I don't know, but that's by the by. It needs money. If you look at snooker, if you look at cricket, they had money injected to them and turned the sports round. But it doesn't have to be all about the money. A back garden flyer can compete with anybody if he's got good birds, good pigeons, and they're well trained and looked after. It's proven it with the one-off races that I've covered last year. In Gary's Who Dares Wins, in Sean Hunt's Wild Atlantic, the winner of those races were relatively normal, back garden flyers. They weren't big flyers. They weren't money flyers. And they won those races. And it shows you can compete. And people that say, oh, money's ruining it and how can you compete? Listen, I said before, a £50 pigeon trained well, fed well, can compete against a £500 or £1,000 pigeon. It happens. Gary in the Who Dares Wins, he has £500 pigeons entered in. Before it won the race, a £50 pigeon from Ireland won that race. It can happen. So the idea that, we're stuck in a mentality of what happened to the working man's sport? What about the working man? Listen, like I said, when I went to China, there was probably 20,000 people, if not more, went to that show. And 95% of them were normal working people. Very normal working people. You hear about China, you hear about the big money. But the reality is 99% of them are normal working people. There's nothing wrong with money coming into a sport, because as long as you compete, this is what I'm talking about, the league system. You know, your Sunday football club league football team doesn't compete with the Premier League. They compete on themselves. I'm not a big fan of football, but in the Championship they have and then, you know, if you get into the top 3 or whatever it is, you move to the Premiership. That's how it should be in this sport. We should have leagues. And I still say a back garden fly, like Gary's just said, Ron Dennett from Warsaw, back garden fly, an ex-minor, won 2 nationals in the last decade. It proves it can be done. I don't think money ruins it. I think money is going to enhance it. And this idea of it takes away from the enjoyment, takes away from the hobby. You've got different levels of people competing, and that's fine. But ultimately, however we've done it over the last 20 years, and people think I've only just been into this for 9 months. I was flying pigeons when I was 14 years old. I've always kept an interest in it. I just haven't been actively publicly involved. But what I'm saying is, for the last 20 years, the approach we've got isn't working. So a new approach, if the approach isn't working, the approach has got to change. And this isn't working. You look at the papers, you look on Facebook, the amount of people packing up. We need a radical shift, a radical change of mentality here. I don't think there's anything wrong with money in the sport, and I don't think there's anything wrong with people earning money out of the sport either. I've been accused, oh, he's only interested in it for the money, whatever. I haven't made a penny out of this yet. Not made a penny. It's cost me thousands. Now, at some point, I will start making some money out of it. What's wrong with that? Everyone here, unless you're retired or you're incredibly wealthy, needs to earn money. I don't get it. The fact that the RPRA won't allow anybody connected with a business related to racing pigeons be on the head, the top board, is completely counterintuitive to me. You need some business people on that top board to think like business people and to move this thing forward. We'll come on to that a little bit more in a few minutes. We need a radical shift, and I defy anybody to say what we've got at the moment is working, because it isn't, and for the last 20 years it hasn't. And being stuck back in the past, back how it used to be, you know? Look, I respect how it used to be, but it's not. You've got to change with the times. You know? It's not happening as it is. Now, back to my 3-phase plan. You get people interested in one-off races. You get people attending. Non-flyers, non-pigeon people. You get them interested in that. You see how amazing it is to see pigeons flying back from hundreds of miles. You get them interested. You get them entering birds into one-off races. Like I said, one-off races, as they are now, are great, but they don't have to be that. You can have smaller ones. You can have all variety with a bit of creativity of getting people involved. Like I said, you can get people on a smaller scale. Why don't we have one-off races that each club has a one-off competing against each other to reduce the time and the pressure and the money? This is the radical stuff we need to be thinking about and implementing over the next 10 years before it gets any worse. So, phase 1, get as many people interested in one-off races as possible and competing. They don't even have to touch a pigeon, breed a pigeon, feed a pigeon. They can get in. And I'm a supporter of all one-off races that are good. Phase 2, some of those people think, you know what, I fancy breeding some of these pigeons for these races. And they'll get keeping pigeons in their back gardens. They'll keep, 2, 3, 4, 10 pair to compete in these races. That's the next phase. That's what I'll be doing. And then ultimately phase 3 is a portion of those people will start thinking, you know what, I want to race myself. I don't think the sport as we know it, i.e. club-fed racing, is going to die. It's just going to keep decreasing for all of the factors we've talked about and more. But it needs a radical shake-up. People being not allowed in clubs because of this, that, and borders being changed and boundaries being changed. Well, you know, are we really this type of sport? There's so much wrong with the sport, but at the same time there's so much right and so many good people. Like, I know those charity auctions I mentioned earlier will be supported greatly because that's the type of people we have. We just have a few idiots in it, but also we have people that are so stuck in the past that they're going to kill the sport if we're not careful. Think about that. The RPRA needs to change. Ian Evans, I have a lot of time for Ian because he's genuinely trying to make changes, but at the end of the day he's handcuffed. In theory, the RPRA is supposed to be run from the ground up. The reality is that doesn't work if people don't get involved. I think the situation is way too complicated. Joe Bloggs goes to his club, the club send a representative to the area, the section, and then that gets sent to a main board meeting for anything to be passed. How screwed up is that? It's even more screwed up that half of the clubs or 3/4 of the clubs don't even send representatives. So it's just a hardcore group of people that are forcing whatever it is through or rejecting whatever it is people want. Ian Evans has tried to get one man, one vote in. It hasn't happened. It got rejected. Why? Because it'd render a lot of people out of the game. It needs to change. And the only people that can change it are you watching this now and your friends not watching this. It would be the easiest thing in the world for RPRA to put out. Nobody has to travel even. It can all be done online. Each member gets a vote and you can go in and log in and vote on that. Whatever it is that needs to be voted on. The current system is completely screwed. The Hall report was completely right. Why was the Hall report not implemented? Like I said, I got a lot of time for Ian Evans. He's a great guy. He's genuinely trying. But he's like the CEO of a business that's got a board at the top that won't do anything. You're not going to change. You need one man, one vote. Every person that's in the RPRA should be able to vote on everything that goes through. We need one man, one vote. But if people don't get involved, and I get why people don't get involved. You've got to go along on whatever day to the club, vote. You've got to go along then to the regional meeting, vote. It's a pain in the backside. Let's start living in 2020. It should all be done online. And for people that haven't got online access, via post. One man, one vote. But if you don't get involved, nothing's going to change. And I'm telling you now, it needs to change. If you think about target markets of people who this sport needs to be focusing on, young people are great. Focus on kids. Richard Butler's doing a great job bringing this sport into schools. But actually, I'm not entirely sure kids are the market we should all be focusing on. People my age, mid-40s going into the 50s, maybe a little bit more disposable money. Kids have left. And they want something to do. Maybe that market are the people that we need to be targeting. But I don't think targeting people to keep pigeons in their back garden, train them, race them, breed them, fly them to a level is just the way to go. I think we need a whole new shift to get people interested. And I think one off racing is the way of doing that. We've got so many people leaving the sport. The numbers are going down, they're not going up. Something needs to change. And screw this idea of it's a working man sport. Listen, what's a working man these days? A working man 40 years ago used to be a miner. And much respect to those people. But it's not now. The average person is working their backside, have to pay the bills, look after their families, got barely enough time to breathe and be with their family, let alone start keeping racing pigeons. Let's be... Oh, and then if they are in that situation, then where are they going to keep them? Because half of the people wanting to keep them can't keep them because of all the regulations regarding residencies now. We've got to be realistic. and we've got to make a change. And in this decade, this new decade, stuff's got to start happening quick. Right. Let's talk about some comments. I hope you agree. If you don't agree, then that's absolutely fine. But something needs to absolutely change inherently. There's so much negativity in this sport. If people on the outside looked in and saw half the amount of stuff that I see going on, nobody's going to be joining this. What is wrong with competition? What is wrong with people killing people's pigeons, stealing people's pigeons? I mean, we've got to really... A good group of people have got to go about making big changes. And like I said, I got a lot of time for Ian Evans, but he's only as good as the members let him be, and as the board let him approve. And I tell you, I haven't spoke to him about this. I got no inclination or anything from him. I've not spoke to him about this, but I'll tell you now, if we're not careful, we're going to lose him, because I know if I was in his position as a previous business, Ian Evans has been high up in business, and being restricted like he is, I wouldn't stay around much longer. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying he said anything like that. I spoke to him for ages, and sadly he lost his father a few weeks ago as well. But yeah, let's get some comments anyway. People go out to stud spending money bringing in birds, but without the stud spending the big money, the normal fancy wouldn't be able to afford to bring them over. Exactly, Tom. That's business. Business money is good. I don't get this thing of money ruins the sport. I don't get it. It's complete BS. It's such an old way of thinking. What? It's like I've had people, I've talked about, we're doing a DVD with Gary. I had people, oh, there he is, he's making money out of it. So what? How much time have I put into this? How many thousands of hours? I'm well on the wrong side. And I'm not doing it. Trust me, if I was just doing it for the money, I'd be doing other things. I got so many people that seem to have a problem with it. Actually, we need the people that want to bring business and money into it, because that's the way it's going to work. If it was run more like a business, things would be a lot better. Tom Powers is on. Tom, yes, we do need to meet up at Blackpool. I would love to see you again, Tom. It's been too many years. You need a national TV platform that people can tune into. It worked for darts and snooker. Absolutely. Stephen O'Brien, I disagree more when it comes to club matters, and you have a partnership of three, they will have 4 votes. The 3 or 4, they will have 4 votes instead of 1 to change the outcome of proposals. That may or may not suit them. Example, if they want to a member in or the rest of the club, they have to have 4 votes. No, I'm talking about when it comes to RPRA rules, Stephen. I'm talking about when a club sends somebody with a vote to the section or the region, and then it goes up and up, right? I'm talking about changing that. I think the club rule should be every club has to have a fixed radius, and anybody within that radius, unless they've been committed of criminally proven, not just hearsay, committed a fraud or a crime of heinous extent, should be allowed in. That's what I think. Tom Powers, you are right on the target market. As an older generation that has time and money and probably the inclination, they can no longer compete in more energetic activities. We all need sport we can play at. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Bring kids in, great, but they haven't got the time and the money, and it ultimately will fall to the parents. That's the big problem. Right, it's an hour in just about. Let's crack on with some other stuff. So I think there's some big changes. This idea the RPI rate is run from the bottom. Yeah, in theory, great. Practice doesn't work. Not living in the real world. We've got to think about what's going on in the next 10 years, in the next decade, because something radically needs to shift. I feel like I'm kind of started again where I was in March in the British Homing World. I feel like I always do it at New Year's. I look back and see, right, where am I going next year? What needs to happen? More people need to be doing things like this. More people need to be promoting stuff. That's what people need to be doing. Right, let's crack on through my list of all the stuff to talk about. I will be at the Blackpool show from the Friday mid-afternoon until the Sunday evening. See, I disagree, Stephen. I disagree on that club vote thing. I think it should just be one member, one vote. That's it. Let's agree to disagree, but I think it's way too complicated, way too messy. But anyway, yeah, I'll be at the Blackpool show with Zandy Friday mid-afternoon till Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. Somebody mentioned about this new Band app. There's a thing called Band app. Lots of groups are moving to it. Go and check it out. The reality is a lot of groups and pages are still being closed down on Facebook. This is the reason I'm moving to rpilive.com, so that all of my broadcast goes straight off rpilive.com, in addition to all of the other social media, Facebook and what have you. Excuse me a second, I'm talking too much. Yeah, I see Band app. Go and download it. There's some Pigeon groups on there already. This is one of the reasons, and I've been talking about it for a while. RacingPigeonNetwork.com will be one of the things I'm continuing with and going to launch. It will be a dedicated network to the sport. It will allow advertising. It will be essentially the Facebook of racing pigeons. It will have some rules, but within it, people will be able to have their own groups, their own forums, their own blogs, their own chats. That's going to be happening. That's one of the things that is happening. Speaking of RPI, our Facebook group now has over 5,500 members, which is amazing. Thank you to everybody that's a member, and again, thank you to the moderator group that help run that group. If you aren't yet a member, go to facebook.com/groups/Racing Pigeon International and go and join. I am launching a new competition either later tomorrow or Wednesday, because we've hit 5,500 members. I'm going to be launching a new competition. I'm going to be doing a new competition in the group, so go and check it out. Every one of the videos that I do, I'm going to be doing more videos now we're back into this new 2020 year, is on our YouTube channel as well. Every single one. Every video that we do will be on rpilive.com. I just haven't got them all up there yet. It's just a live feed that's up there. But rpilive.com will have every single video that we've got up there as well. What else? We've got some comments coming in. Joshua, who's a young flyer himself, the RPA should make a few small lofts that can be lent out for a year to young people who are interested in pigeons and give them a chance to experience it before having to buy the expensive loft and find out they don't like it. That's what the problem is. They're scared to spend money. Good idea, Joshua. Loan lofts for a year. I like that. That's a great idea. You see, these are the ideas and thoughts we need, because you know what? You're a young person interested in the sport. That's a hell of an idea. Great idea. Let's see what can be done with that, Joshua. Yeah, members do vote in their club, Stephen, but the reality is that's open to a lot of manipulation and politics and stuff. If you just had one member, one vote, I think it's the way to go. But again, let's agree to disagree, mate. Now, we've got, I'm going to be at Blackpool. Who Dares Wins race, Gary Tomlinson's race, whodareswinsrace.com is now half full already, which is absolutely great. Don't forget, I'm going on easy payment plan there, my little bit of sponsorship. It's a great race. It's £40,000 first prize guaranteed this year. I want more people to get involved with RPI. If you want to get involved with RPI coming into 2020, then let us know. I want more people involved. I'm speaking to somebody in the States at the moment who's looking to help and be a reporter. I want more people. I want more reporters. I want people getting involved in RPI. So if you're interested, then please let me know. I'm not sure if you've lost me.
Let us know.
Okay. Yeah, get involved. Want more people getting involved in this year moving forward. If you would like to be a guest on the show, or you know somebody that should be, then tell me. You can come in as a guest. All you need is the Skype thing on your computer or your phone. You can become a guest. That is pretty much it for tonight's show, folks. If please do not forget about some of the stuff we talked about earlier. The Owen Hamill charity auction. Go and check that out on the Racing Pigeon auction page. The Rob Burrows auction as well. You can check that out on Excelsior Pigeon. And if anybody knows Peter Chappell, who had a savage attack on his Budapest High Flyers, I want to speak to him and see if we can help him out as well. And if you know anybody that keeps and breeds Budapest High Flyers, please let us know. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Mark Lyford. Welcome to 2020. Let's crack on and see what we can do. Catch you next week. Be lucky. Keep flying. I look forward to meeting as many of you in Blackpool as I can. I'll be around all weekend. But I will see you next week, Monday at 8 o'clock, the Monday before the Blackpool show. And we will resume then. In the meantime, thanks for watching. And remember, I've really struggled to keep up with Facebook messages these days. The easiest way of contacting me and RPI is calling, is WhatsApping or texting 07887 345 600 07887 345 600. That's the best way to get a hold of me. You will get a response within a day. Whereas, I'll be honest, Facebook messages take me weeks. I cannot keep up. So that's the thing. Guys, thanks for watching. I'm about to go and get some food. Again, appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody sharing. It means a lot and it feels good to be back. Let's bring on 2020 and get some revolution going and keep going. Thanks, guys. Be lucky. Take care. Catch you soon.